I was staring at endless spreadsheets on my computer when my phone rang. Mom's name lit up the screen, and my stomach instantly dropped. She never just calls to chat, only when she needs something. "Hello, Mom," I answered, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Caroline." Her voice came out weak and trembling, like she could barely breathe. "I'm really sick. Sweetheart. Terrible ditzy spells. Crushing chest pains. Your father's always at work. And I'm here completely alone. Heavy." Labored breathing filled the line with dramatic pauses between each word. "I need you. Caroline. I really need you." My mind immediately raced. What's wrong this time? What about Linda? She only lives 20 minutes away. Can't she help? Linda is my older sister, Mom's golden child. Dad's pride and joy. The perfect daughter who could do absolutely no wrong in their eyes. Mom sighed so heavily I could practically feel it through the phone. Linda is completely overwhelmed with her 3 kids. She has absolutely no time to help me right now. Of course. Linda is always too busy when it involves helping anyone but herself. Please. Caroline. Mom's voice wavered with perfect dramatic timing. Come stay with me for just 2 weeks. Until I feel better. I wouldn't ask unless it was truly serious. But I really feel terrible. I stared at my computer screen. 3 major projects with looming deadlines. Reports for Mr. Peterson due tomorrow morning. My boss was counting on me. My scheduled vacation wasn't for another month. But how do you refuse your dying mother? I'll be there day after tomorrow morning. I heard myself say, already dreading the conversation with my boss. Thank you. Sweetheart. Mom's voice suddenly sounded noticeably stronger. Clearer. You've always been so reliable. Yeah. Reliable Caroline. The family's emergency backup plan for everything. I went straight to Mr. Tard. Peterson's office. Do you have a moment? It's urgent. I explained everything, my mom's sudden serious illness. My dad working full-time, with no flexibility. No one available to care for her. I need to fly to Phoenix as soon as possible. 2 weeks maximum. I'm requesting unpaid family leave. Mr. Peterson frowned, tapping his pen thoughtfully on the desk. What about the Henderson project deadline? I know. And I'm so sorry. I wouldn't ask if this wasn't a genuine medical emergency. He studied my face carefully, then nodded slowly. Family comes first. Caroline. We'll manage somehow. 2 weeks, but I'll need you back and focused when you return. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your understanding. That evening, I booked a red-eye flight from Seattle to Phoenix with a layover in Denver, 4 hours waiting at the airport. Nearly 15 hours of total exhausting travel time. I hadn't been home in 4 years. 4 peaceful years without family drama. Without constant demands. Without the endless, "Can you help with this?" followed by hollow promises of, "We'll pay you back soon." No birthday calls. No holiday greetings. Just texts when they needed money transferred immediately. I packed my suitcase and set my alarm for 4 in the morning. I'd deliberately chosen Seattle when I graduated college, as far from Phoenix as I could reasonably get while staying in the continental United States. It wasn't random chance. It was a carefully calculated survival strategy to protect my peace. The flight felt endless cramped seats, crying babies, a stale airport coffee, and anxiety about what I'd find when I arrived. An Uber took me from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, through familiar sun-baked streets to my parents' neighborhood in Tempe. Everything looked exactly the same. Xeriscaped yards with gravel and cacti. Faded ranch houses. Dusty pickup trucks in every driveway. My parents' house sat on the corner, a single-story brick ranch with white vinyl siding that had turned dingy gray from years of harsh Arizona sun. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding with genuine worry about what terrible condition I'd find Mom in. The door swung open wide, and there stood Mom, looking absolutely radiant and completely healthy. Her hair was freshly styled and colored, makeup perfectly applied, wearing coordinated turquoise jewelry that matched her crisp southwestern print blouse. "Mom," I froze on the doorstep, confused. My suitcase handle gripped tightly in my sweaty hand. "You were deathly sick." She grabbed my arm with surprising strength and pulled me enthusiastically inside. "Caroline, you actually made it. How wonderful. The guest slippers are right there by the coat rack." "Sweetheart." "Wait, what about your health? The dizziness, the chest pains, the emergency?" Mom laughed brightly and waved her hand dismissively like she was swatting away an annoying fly. "Oh, honey. I exaggerated just a teensy tiny bit, so you'd actually come visit." "Surprise?" I stood frozen in the hallway, still death gripping my suitcase handle, while my exhausted brain tried desperately to process what I'd just heard. Voices and laughter drifted from the living room, multiple voices, including excited children. "Look who finally made it here," Mom called out cheerfully, practically singing. I followed her into the living room on complete autopilot, my body moving while my mind reeled. Dad sat comfortably in his worn leather recliner, phone in hand. Casually scrolling through sports news like this was any ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Linda, her husband Mike, and their 3 kids, 8-year-old Emma, 6-year-old Tyler, and 3-year-old Chloe were sprawled across the sofa and carpet, surrounded by shopping bags and glossy vacation brochures. "Oh," Caroline Linda flashed that overly bright, fake smile that always makes me instinctively check my purse. "Wow, she actually showed up. I honestly half thought you'd bail on us." Dad glanced up briefly from his phone. "Hey there. Quito. How was the flight? Get any sleep on the plane? What's going on here?" I looked from one smug, satisfied face to another, confusion rapidly turning to suspicious dread. "We're going on vacation," Mom announced happily, clasping her hands together with excitement. 10 glorious days in Maui, Hawaii. Everything's already booked and fully paid for. Tickets purchased. Resort confirmed, but we needed someone reliable and trustworthy to watch the children. It felt like someone had dumped an entire bucket of ice water directly over my head. "So you lied about being deathly ill to trick me into flying 3,000 miles across the entire country to provide free babysitting for your vacation. Don't be so dramatic, Caroline." Linda snorted, rolling her eyes dismissively. "It's not like it's real work. You have a cushy office job where you just sit at a computer all day in air conditioning. It's not like you're out digging ditches in the Arizona heat or working retail on your feet." Heat flooded my face and my hands started trembling with anger. "I have major projects with critical deadlines. I took unpaid leave. I'm literally losing money and jeopardizing my career to be here. That's what family means." "Caroline," Mom interrupted firmly, using that patient, condescending voice, like she was explaining basic manners to a stubborn child, helping each other out in times of need. "Linda and Mike haven't had a real vacation in years. Your father and I haven't been anywhere romantic since our honeymoon 35 years ago. This trip is important for all of us. Surely you can understand that." I looked at their faces satisfied, confident, comfortable, entitled, not even slightly embarrassed or apologetic about the elaborate manipulation. They'd lied to me, completely deceived me, lured me across the country under completely false pretenses. And now they expected me to smile gratefully and thank them for the privilege of serving them. I could have exploded right there, could have screamed everything I'd held inside for 32 years, of being the family scapegoat. But something stopped me. Maybe my deeply ingrained habit of being good Caroline. Or maybe a sudden, beautiful plan, forming crystal clear in my mind. I took a deep, steadying breath, forced my face into a carefully neutral expression, and managed a tight smile. "You know what? You're absolutely right. Family should help family. When exactly are you all leaving?" The tension in the room evaporated instantly like morning dew in the desert. Mom actually clapped her hands together with pure glee. "See, Robert, I told you Caroline would understand. She's always been our sensible, dependable girl. We're flying out day after tomorrow. Sweetheart, Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Perfect. I thought, absolutely perfect timing. That evening, we all sat down to dinner together. Mom served her signature dish, Cincinnati-style chili, over spaghetti. Literally the only thing she could cook that was even remotely edible. Everyone talked about nothing except the upcoming vacation, their voices overlapping with barely contained excitement. We snagged such an incredible deal. Dad boasted proudly, helping himself to a second enormous portion, the Wailea Grand Resort, right on the ocean in Maui, all-inclusive with premium top-shelf drinks, 5-star rating. They've got 3 swimming pools, a lazy river, and the beach is literally right outside your room. I smiled and nodded along enthusiastically. But inside my mind was racing, planning, calculating every detail. Mike, Linda's husband of 6 years, launched into an enthusiastic description of the helicopter tours over volcanic craters and the snorkeling excursions he'd already researched and booked. I barely knew Mike. I'd met him maybe 3 times total at major family events like weddings and funerals. He seemed like a decent enough guy, but clearly smart enough not to get his own hands dirty, dealing with other people's messy family problems. Caroline, honey, we wrote absolutely everything down for you. Mom slid a handwritten sheet of paper across the table toward me. Chloe sometimes wakes up crying at night around 2 or 3 in the morning. But Tyler and Emma usually sleep straight through until morning. Tyler absolutely won't eat from shared plates. He needs his own separate plate for everything, or he'll have a complete meltdown. And Emma needs her special purple lavender blanket to fall asleep, or she gets extremely fussy and cranky for hours. I nodded carefully, pretending to study the detailed list with great attention and concern. Oh, and Tyler's severely allergic to strawberries, even the smallest amount. Linda added quickly, even a tiny bit will make him break out in terrible hives all over. And Emma has soccer practice every Tuesday and Thursday evening at exactly 6 o'clock at the Scottsdale Youth Sports Complex on McDowell Road. Coach Martinez gets really annoyed if parents are late. So don't be late picking her up. No problem at all, I said evenly and calmly. Even though I didn't have a car here in Phoenix and had absolutely no idea how I'd transport a child to soccer practice halfway across the city, I'll figure it all out somehow. After dinner finally ended, Linda's family headed upstairs to settle the overexcited kids into the guest room for the night. Dad turned on a basketball game on the big screen TV at high volume. Mom went to the kitchen to load the dishwasher, humming cheerfully to herself. I seized the perfect moment and quietly escaped to my old childhood bedroom, now sadly converted into a cluttered storage room, piled high with cardboard boxes, old dusty furniture, and forgotten holiday decorations. My old twin bed was shoved into the corner, barely visible behind everything. I sat down on the creaky mattress, closed and locked the door firmly, and pulled out my phone. My hands trembled slightly with anger and adrenaline as I dialed Mr. Live, Peterson's personal cell number. Caroline, is everything all right? How's your mom doing? He asked immediately with genuine concern in his voice. Not quite what I expected at all. My voice cracked slightly with emotion. I spilled the entire story, the completely fake, dramatic illness, the real luxury vacation, the calculated manipulation to trap me into free childcare. Mr. Peterson was silent for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was tight with anger on my behalf. Wow, that's really beyond the pale. Caroline, that's pure manipulation. Plain and simple. I'm so sorry I abandoned work over something like this. Stop right now. Don't you dare apologize. You acted in completely good faith with the information you had. You genuinely thought your mother was dying. He paused thoughtfully. So what are you going to do now? I don't know. Part of me wants to book a return flight to Seattle right this second and never speak to them again. You could absolutely do that. he said slowly. Carefully. Or you could take a real vacation yourself. We've already covered your absence and rearranged everything at the office. The work will still be waiting here when you get back. I blinked in complete surprise. You think I should just take a vacation? After this, Caroline? After what they've deliberately put you through? Absolutely yes. You've got the time off already approved. Use it for yourself for once. You deserve it infinitely more than they deserve your free labor. After hanging up, I immediately opened my laptop and started frantically searching vacation packages. If my family was going to Hawaii, I needed somewhere equally amazing, no. Somewhere even better and much farther away, where they could never reach me. Turkey appeared on my screen, specifically Antalya. With its pristine white sand beaches and crystal clear turquoise Mediterranean waters that looked like paradise. And incredibly, miraculously, I found an all-inclusive luxury resort with last-minute availability for Wednesday, the exact same day my family was departing for Hawaii. Even better, I found an early morning flight at 7 p.m. That would get me completely out of Phoenix well before their 2 p.m. afternoon departure. I'd be sipping mojitos poolside by the Mediterranean Sea while they were just arriving at Sky Harbor Airport, searching frantically for their missing babysitter. Perfect. Absolutely perfect poetic justice. I booked everything without a moment's hesitation round-trip flight. Luxury resort. Comprehensive travel insurance. The total came to $1,800, money I'd been carefully saving for a new laptop. But this was worth infinitely more than any computer. The next morning brought complete organized chaos. Mom and Linda ran around frantically with printed packing lists, checking items off obsessively. Dad triple-checked passports and tickets for the 100th time. The kids bounced off the walls with uncontainable vacation excitement. I seized the moment of total distraction and slipped out quietly to Target. I bought a new flattering swimsuit, high SPF sunscreen, a flowy beach cover-up, waterproof sandals, and a wide-brimmed sun hat, everything needed for a luxurious Turkish Mediterranean beach vacation. I hid all the purchases deep in the bottom of my suitcase, carefully camouflaged under my regular boring t-shirts and jeans. That evening, I checked my flight confirmation and hotel reservation one final time on my laptop. Everything was absolutely perfect and confirmed. I felt a small twinge of guilt about the children, Emma, Tyler, and little Chloe weren't to blame for any of this nightmare. But then I remembered Linda casually dismissing my entire professional career as just sitting at a computer. I remembered my parents blatantly lying about a terminal illness to manipulate me. This had been the pattern my entire life. I was always dead last in their priorities, valued only when they desperately needed something. I remembered my childhood so vividly and painfully, how completely different my experience was from Linda's privileged, pampered life. At 12 years old, I was cooking dinner for the entire family and scrubbing floors on my hands and knees, while 14-year-old Linda went to the mall shopping with her friends. At 16, I worked part-time at a Safeway grocery store after school, and on weekends to earn money for my own clothes and school supplies. While 19-year-old Linda attended Arizona State University full-time, completely financially supported by mom and dad, who paid for everything. I didn't receive a single penny for college expenses. I worked myself to absolute physical and mental exhaustion, competing for scholarships, took out massive, crushing student loans, and worked 2 demanding part-time jobs throughout college just to barely survive. When I finally escaped to Seattle, right after graduation, they barely even noticed I'd left the state. Never visited me once. Never called just to check on me or see how I was doing, only when they urgently needed money wired immediately. Just Venmo it to us right now. Honey, we'll definitely pay you back next month. We promise. But they never, ever did pay me back. Not once. And now, this. The absolute height of cynicism and cruel manipulation. faking a terminal illness to force me into providing free childcare so they could all enjoy a luxury Hawaiian vacation without me. No, I felt absolutely zero guilt anymore. They'd made their selfish choices. Now I would make mine. On Wednesday morning departure day, I woke at 5 a.m. to my phone's silent, vibrating alarm. My flight departed at 7. There's left at 2 in the afternoon. I needed to leave the house by 5:45 to reach the airport, with comfortable time to spare. I dressed quietly in the pitch darkness, then carefully and silently opened my bedroom window. The thick oleander bushes in the side yard would hide my suitcase perfectly until I could retrieve it. I lowered it down as softly as possible, wincing at the muffled thud when it hit the dirt below. Minutes later, Mom knocked briskly on my door. "Caroline, are you awake yet?" "Sweetie." She opened the door without waiting for an answer. Already fully dressed for travel in comfortable stretchy pants and a light cardigan sweater. "Good. You're up early." "Yeah. I thought I'd run to the 24-hour Walgreens before you all leave," I said casually, pulling on my shoes. "Pick up some children's Tylenol and a few other things for the kids, just in case anyone gets sick." "You're such a thoughtful, caring girl." Mom looked genuinely pleased with me for once in my life. "We're leaving for the airport at 11:30 sharp. You'll definitely be back by then." "Right, of course," I lied smoothly, maintaining perfect eye contact without flinching. 20 minutes maximum. Tops. I went downstairs, waved casually to Dad, who was already in the kitchen making his morning coffee, and headed straight out the front door, calling cheerfully, "Be right back." I walked quickly around the side of the house, yanked my suitcase out from under the oleander bushes, brushed off the dirt, and speed walked down the empty street. As soon as I turned the corner completely out of sight, I opened the Uber app with shaking hands. The driver arrived in 3 minutes flat. Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. "Please. International Terminal," I told him, climbing in. I turned off my phone completely. The airport was moderately crowded for an early weekday morning, but I didn't care at all. For the first time in my entire adult life, I felt completely and utterly free from their control. I breezed through check-in and TSA security, found my gate, and sat down with overpriced airport coffee and a magazine. I didn't turn on my phone even once, knowing full well it would soon explode with increasingly frantic and furious messages. When they announced boarding for my Turkish Airlines flight to Istanbul with a connection to Antalya, I walked onto that plane with the biggest, most genuine smile on my face. I settled into my economy window seat, fastened my seatbelt, and only then checked the time on the seatback entertainment screen. 6:45 a.m. Back at the house right now. My family was probably just finishing breakfast, the kids still running around in their pajamas. Everyone leisurely getting ready for their big trip, completely unaware that their free babysitter was currently taxiing onto the runway at that exact moment, about to disappear to another continent entirely. The flight was pure bliss, 3.5 peaceful hours to Istanbul, then another 2 hours to Antalya. I watched 2 movies, dozed comfortably with my complimentary blanket, ate surprisingly decent airline food, and tried not to think too much about the absolute chaos currently erupting back at my parents' house. When we finally landed in Antalya, Turkey, it was early evening local time, which meant late morning back in Phoenix. While waiting at the baggage carousel surrounded by excited vacationing tourists, I took a deep breath and finally powered on my phone. It went absolutely berserk like an angry hornet's nest that had been violently kicked. 32 missed calls, 57 text messages, 14 increasingly frantic voicemails. I scrolled through the messages, watching the fascinating progression from mild confusion to rising panic to absolute volcanic fury. Mom 715 a.m. Where are you? Honey, the pharmacy shouldn't take this long. Mom 745 a. M. Caroline. Call me back immediately. We're getting worried. Dad 830A. M. If you're not back in the next 10 minutes, we're going to miss our airport shuttle. Linda 900 A. M. Caroline. This isn't funny anymore. Where the hell are you, Mom 930A? M. You selfish. Ungrateful bitch. After everything we've done for you over the years. Linda 1015A. M. I can't believe you would do this to your own family. The kids are crying and asking for you. Dad 1100A. M. We had to cancel everything. Do you have any idea how much money you just cost us? Thousands? The messages grew progressively more vicious, accusatory, and insulting with each passing hour. I put the phone away without responding to a single one, grabbed my purple suitcase from the carousel, and headed outside to catch the hotel shuttle van. Antalya greeted me with warm sunshine. A gentle sea breeze, carrying the scent of salt and jasmine flowers, and the most beautiful deep blue sky I'd ever seen in my life. The perfect combination for a fresh start. The hotel shuttle driver was incredibly talkative and enthusiastic. He spent the entire scenic 30-minute ride telling me about the ancient Dudin waterfalls, the historic old town of Kalechi with its beautiful Ottoman-era architecture, and the best authentic local restaurants that tourists never find on their own. The hotel exceeded every single one of my already high expectations, gleaming white Mediterranean-style buildings with terracotta roofs, multiple sparkling swimming pools at different terrace levels, towering palm trees, swaying gently in the breeze, and the crystal-clear turquoise Mediterranean Sea just mere steps away from the pool deck. I checked in at the elegant marble front desk, took a long, hot, therapeutic shower in my beautiful room, changed into my brand new swimsuit, and only then feeling clean, refreshed, and ready for battle. Did I decide to face my family directly? I called Mom's cell phone, my heart pounding. She answered on the first ring, her voice shaking with pure rage. Caroline, where the hell are you right now? I'm in Turkey, I replied calmly, gazing out my balcony window at the stunning sea view. At the Fantasia Resort in Antalya. It's absolutely beautiful here. Mom, you'd love it. Dead silence. Complete. Shocked silence for several seconds. Then what kind of nonsense? Come back to Phoenix immediately. We missed our entire flight because of you. Do you understand what you've done to this family? That's really unfortunate, I said evenly, without emotion. But I'm not coming back to babysit your children for free. Did you plan this deliberately? Mom's voice was strangled, barely coherent. Did you set us up on purpose? Yes. I did? Exactly the same way you deliberately set me up by lying about being deathly ill when you were perfectly healthy the whole time. This is completely different. We needed your help. Family helps family in times of need, and you decided that lying and manipulation was the best way to get that help. You didn't even ask me honestly if I could babysit. You didn't offer to pay me a single dollar. You didn't respect my time, my demanding job, or my life at all. You just lied and expected me to drop everything and serve you like always. What about your sister? What about Linda's innocent children? They didn't do anything wrong. Linda is a grown woman with a husband who works. She could have hired a professional babysitter or nanny. She could have asked me honestly and offered to pay me fairly. She could have accepted no as an answer. But instead, you both decided to lie about a terminal illness because you knew that was the only way to manipulate me into compliance. Mom went silent for a moment, then erupted like a volcano. You've ruined everything. The entire vacation is completely destroyed. The travel agency is charging us massive cancellation fees over $3,000. The resort won't refund anything. I'm genuinely sorry about the money, I said, and I truly meant it. But maybe this experience will teach you to respect me at least a little bit. To see me as a real person with my own life and needs. Not just as a free resource to exploit whenever it's convenient. Respect. After what you've just done to this family, Mom's voice went shrill and hysterical. Linda was absolutely right about you all along. You're selfish. You've always been selfish. I actually laughed out loud at that accusation. That's funny to hear from people who only call me when they need money transferred immediately. Money that never, ever gets paid back. By the way, I've kept detailed track you've borrowed over $4,200 from me in the past 3 years alone. How dare you throw that in our faces? No. Mom? How dare you? How dare all of you? My voice was steady and strong. I'm exhausted from being the family doormat. I'm tired of being taken for granted, used, manipulated, and treated like I don't matter at all. Now I'm going to actually enjoy a real vacation, the one I thought I was taking when you lied about being sick and dying. Goodbye. Mom. I hung up firmly before she could respond. The phone immediately started ringing again, Linda calling this time. I declined the call and powered off the phone completely. I went downstairs to the beautiful poolside bar with its thatched roof and bamboo decorations, ordered a mojito with extra fresh mint, and took a long, satisfying sip while gazing at the magnificent turquoise Mediterranean stretching endlessly to the horizon. For the first time in years, maybe in my entire adult life, I felt like I truly belonged to myself. The next few days were absolutely magical. Like living inside a beautiful dream. I swam in the warm, perfectly clear sea every morning while the sun rose. I read 3 novels on the pristine beach under a striped umbrella. I went parasailing high above the dramatic coastline. Screaming with pure exhilaration, I indulged shamelessly in the incredible daily buffet. Their grilled eggplant with tahini sauce was absolutely mind-blowing. And the fresh-baked bread was still warm every single morning. I turned on my phone once each evening to check work emails. Everything was running smoothly. Mr. Peterson assured me warmly, and to post carefully selected photos to my Instagram stories, beach selfies with the sparkling water behind me, rainbow-colored cocktails with tiny umbrellas, picture-perfect sunsets painting the sky brilliant gold and pink, photos of delicious Turkish food artfully arranged on blue and white ceramic plates. Linda responded to every single story with increasingly bitter private messages. I hope you're happy with yourself. Mom hasn't stopped crying for 2 days straight. The kids keep asking where Aunt Caroline went. What am I supposed to tell them? You've completely destroyed this family. I hope your selfish vacation was worth it. Dad had to take extra shifts to cover the cancellation fees. Thanks a lot. I ignored every single message and kept posting beautiful photos. Let them see exactly what they were missing. Let them realize I was done being their servant. On the 4th day, I met James at the hotel's elegant beachside bar during sunset happy hour. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep from Chicago. Staying a few extra days after a major medical conference in Istanbul, his presentation finished early. So he'd extended his trip to actually relax for once instead of rushing home. We clicked instantly over strong Turkish coffee and honey-soaked baklava. He wasn't at all surprised or judgmental when I told him my entire family drama story. I have an almost identical situation. He chuckled, shaking his head ruefully. My ex-wife's entire family still tries to manipulate me into free handyman work. Last year I was supposed to fly to Milwaukee for my nephew's graduation ceremony, but it turned out to be a complete setup to renovate my ex-mother-in-law's entire kitchen for free. I rented a car and drove to Wisconsin Dells instead. Spent the whole weekend at a water park resort eating junk food. We spent the rest of my vacation together, nothing serious or romantic. Just genuine, easy companionship. It was wonderful being with someone who valued me for who I actually was. Not as an unpaid servant or ATM machine. By the end of my week in Turkey, I felt completely renewed, stronger, clearer, and more confident than I'd ever felt before in my life. I said goodbye to James at the airport, exchanged phone numbers and social media without any illusions about long-distance relationships, and boarded my flight back to Seattle without a single regret. I still had 3 vacation days remaining when I landed back in rainy Seattle. I used them productively to deep clean my apartment, catch up on laundry, meal prep healthy food for the week, and mentally prepare myself for returning to work and normal life. Mr. Peterson sent me an encouraging message through our company chat. Welcome back Monday. Caroline, the Henderson project went smoothly. Hope turkey was restorative for you. The phone had finally stopped ringing constantly with family hysteria, though somehow the sudden silence felt even more ominous and unsettling than their righteous anger had been. Then, the evening before I was scheduled to return to work, my phone rang with an unexpected caller. Aunt Martha, Mom's younger sister, who lived in Tucson. Caroline, it's Aunt Martha. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Honey, hi. Aunt Martha, I answered cautiously. We'd never been particularly close, but she'd always treated me kindly and fairly at family gatherings, unlike most of the others. So I heard about what happened with the vacation situation. Your mother and Linda have been calling every single family member, telling everyone you deliberately ruined their trip and cost them thousands of dollars. He sighed deeply. And did they happen to mention that Mom faked a terminal illness to trick me into flying 3,000 miles for free childcare? No, Aunt Martha said slowly, meaningfully. They somehow conveniently left out that rather important detail. I told her absolutely everything, the fake dramatic illness with the heavy breathing, the calculated manipulation, the elaborate trap they'd set, the complete lack of respect for my time or career. When I finished, there was a long, thoughtful silence on the phone. Good Lord, she finally said, her voice tight with clear disapproval. Your mother's always had a flair for drama, Caroline, but this crosses every line. This is manipulative and cruel. So you actually believe me, I asked, surprised and relieved. Of course I believe you. Sweetie, I love my sister dearly, but I'm not blind to her serious faults. She's always played obvious favorites with you girls. I saw it clearly when you were little, how differently she treated you compared to Linda. It was wrong then, and it's still wrong now. Her words made my eyes sting with unexpected tears. For so many years, I'd thought I was just being overly sensitive or imagining the inequality. It turned out I wasn't the only one who'd noticed. Thank you for saying that, I whispered. You have no idea how much that means to me. Caroline, what you did definitely took courage. Aunt Martha continued carefully. I won't pretend it wasn't dramatic. But honestly, I don't blame you one single bit. Sometimes people need a bucket of ice-cold reality dumped directly on their heads before they'll actually change their behavior. We talked for another 20 minutes about family, boundaries, and self-respect. When we finally hung up, I felt validated and supported in a way I hadn't felt from my family in decades. At least I had one family member genuinely on my side. The next day, I returned to work, refreshed and focused. Mr. Peterson greeted me warmly in the hallway with a genuine smile. Welcome back. Caroline, how was Turkey? Was it everything you needed? Absolutely wonderful, I said, with complete sincerity. Thank you so much for the advice and understanding. It was exactly what I needed. And the family situation, he asked delicately. Quietly, I shrugged philosophically. Still dramatic. I'm sure. But I've decided I won't let them walk all over me anymore. I'm done being the family doormat. Good for you, he said firmly, nodding. You're too valuable both here at work and in your personal life to let anyone treat you as less than you deserve. The following weeks passed peacefully and productively. No manipulative calls from my parents. No guilt-tripping texts from Linda. Just blessed silence and the space to breathe. I threw myself enthusiastically into work, caught up on all my projects, and even received praise from upper management for the exceptional quality of my recent presentations. I also started corresponding regularly with James from Turkey. He called from Chicago and admitted he couldn't stop thinking about me since we'd met. Then, Almost exactly 1 month after my Turkish escape, on an unremarkable Tuesday evening, while I was making dinner, my phone rang. Mom? I stared at the screen for a long moment, took a deep breath to steady myself, and answered. Hello, hi. Caroline. Mom's voice was strained and careful, like she was walking on thin eggshells. How are you doing? I'm fine. Mom, how are you? Better, she said stiffly. Formally, your father and I have talked extensively about what happened between us. I waited in silence, refusing to make this conversation easier for her. What you did was very hurtful, she continued slowly. We lost a substantial amount of money on those tickets and hotel reservations. The travel agency charged us enormous cancellation fees, over $3,000 total. It's been financially very difficult for us. I noticed immediately, no apology for lying about being deathly ill. No acknowledgement of manipulating and deceiving me. No recognition that they'd tried to exploit me. That's unfortunate about the money, I replied coolly. Maybe next time you should hire an actual professional babysitter instead of lying to manipulate family members into providing free labor. Mom sighed heavily, like I was being completely unreasonable. We didn't really lie, Caroline. We just embellished the situation slightly to ensure you'd come home. That's what families do. They help each other out in times of need. Help goes both ways. Mom, from my perspective, it looks like this. I help you constantly whenever you ask, and you take advantage of that help constantly. When was the last time you called just to check on me, not to ask for money, not to request a favor, just to talk to your daughter and see how I'm actually doing? Long, uncomfortable silence. That's exactly what I thought, I said quietly. So what exactly are you suggesting? Caroline, Mom asked, her voice small and defensive. If you want any kind of normal relationship with me going forward, it has to be genuinely reciprocal. I need to feel valued as a person, not just used as a resource when it's convenient for you. Another long pause. I could practically hear her thinking, deciding how to respond. I'll think carefully about what you've said, she finally managed. You do that. Mom, take all the time you need. Goodbye. I hung up calmly, unsure if this conversation was the beginning of genuine reconciliation or the final nail in our relationship's coffin. Either way, I didn't regret standing up for myself. Not for 1 second. Later that same evening, I received a text message from Linda. The kids keep asking about you. They miss their Aunt Caroline so much. No apology. No acknowledgement of any wrongdoing. No recognition that she'd been part of an elaborate deception, just using her innocent children as emotional leverage to make me feel guilty. Classic Linda manipulation. I read the message twice, then deleted it without responding. Life continued moving forward in positive directions. 3 months after I returned from Turkey, I received a significant promotion at work. I was now leading an entire 8-person department with real decision-making authority and a substantial salary increase of $15,000 annually. James flew out from Chicago for a long weekend, and I had the joy of showing him around beautiful Seattle Pike Place Market with its famous fish-throwing vendors, the iconic Space Needle with its rotating restaurant, a scenic ferry ride to charming Bainbridge Island, and hiking through the stunning misty forests of the Olympic Peninsula. I joined a local hiking club and made genuine new friends who actually valued my company and never asked me for money or favors. People who invited me to things because they enjoyed being around me, not because they needed something from me. 3 months after the Turkey incident, almost to the day, Aunt Martha called me again with interesting news. I thought you'd want to know something, she said carefully. Your mother finally admitted to me that they handled the situation wrong when they lied to you about her being sick. I raised my eyebrows skeptically. She actually admitted that, well, not in those exact words. Of course, Aunt Martha chuckled knowingly. But she told me they should have directly asked you for help with the children instead of being, and I quote, creative with the truth? For your mother. That's practically a full confession and apology from the papal throne. I couldn't help but laugh. I guess that's something. At least, give them time. Caroline. They're stubborn people. But they do love you in their own complicated way. In their own way. I repeated quietly, thoughtfully, it's not perfect. Aunt Martha noted philosophically, but it's what we've got. Family rarely is perfect. Sweetheart. After we hung up, I sat for a long time thinking about family, the one you're born into through no choice of your own, and the one you consciously choose and build for yourself. I'd spent so many exhausting years desperately trying to earn my parents' approval and my sister's respect, working myself to the bone to prove I was worthy of their love and attention. It never worked. Maybe it never would work. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. I'd built a genuinely good life for myself here in Seattle. A career I loved and felt proud of. Friends who appreciated and respected me. A promising relationship with James that felt healthy and reciprocal. I no longer needed to be anyone's doormat to feel worthy of love and belonging. A week later, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. Inside was a check for $4,200, every single penny they'd ever borrowed from me over the years. With interest calculated at 5%, a card was tucked behind the check. Mom's distinctive handwriting was on it. Caroline, we're sorry for the delay in repaying you. We should have done this years ago. We're trying to do better. Love. Mom and Dad. A partial apology at best. Not a promise to fundamentally change their behavior patterns. Not a recognition of the deeper hurt they'd caused over decades. But at least it was an acknowledgement that they'd been wrong. At least it was something concrete and real. I sent Mom a brief thank you text message, received the check. Thank you for paying me back. I appreciate it. Small steps forward. Baby steps. Really? Do I want a full reconciliation with my family? I'm honestly not sure anymore. Part of me misses them despite everything that's happened, misses the idea of having a close, supportive family. But another larger part of me is genuinely afraid of falling back into those old destructive patterns of becoming convenient, reliable Caroline again, who exists primarily to solve everyone else's problems while completely neglecting her own needs. For now, I'm maintaining my distance and my boundaries, protecting the peace I've worked so hard to build. Maybe someday we'll find a way to build a healthier, more balanced relationship based on mutual respect. Maybe we won't. Either way, I know I'll be fine. I'll be more than fine. I've realized something important. Revenge, as satisfying as it was in the moment, wasn't really what I'd been seeking all along. What I truly wanted was recognition to be seen and valued as a complete person with my own life, dreams, and needs, not just as a convenient resource to be exploited whenever it was useful. My phone buzzed with an incoming message. James just booked my flight for Friday night. Dinner at that Italian place you mentioned. The one with the amazing handmade pasta. I smiled genuinely and typed back, can't wait. I'll make reservations. Life isn't perfect. My family situation remains complicated, and probably always will be to some degree. But for the first time in my entire life, I'm living completely by my own rules, making my own choices, setting my own boundaries, prioritizing my own well-being without apology. No apologies. No regrets. No going back to who I used to be. On Friday evening, James and I sat at Altura, an upscale Italian restaurant overlooking Elliott Bay, watching the sunset paint the water in brilliant shades of gold, pink, and deep purple. He asked about my family over our appetizers. Are you talking to them much these days? I shook my head honestly. Not really. It's better and healthier this way for now. I spent my entire life exhausting myself trying to be exactly what they wanted me to be. Now I'm finally figuring out who I actually want to be for myself. James raised his wine glass thoughtfully. Here's to the journey of figuring it out. I clinked my glass gently against his meeting his eyes with a genuine smile. To figuring it out, and that was the absolute, honest truth. 6 more months passed in a beautiful blur of positive changes and real personal growth. James and I decided to make things official. He accepted a job transfer to Seattle, and we moved into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment together in Capitol Hill with an incredible view of the Space Needle and Puget Sound. For the first time in my life, I was building a real home with someone who truly saw me as an equal partner. Work continued to flourish beyond my expectations. My department exceeded all quarterly targets by significant margins, and I received special recognition at the company-wide annual meeting. Mr. Peterson pulled me aside afterward and said something I'll never forget. You know, Caroline, that family emergency back in March might have been the best thing that ever happened to your career. You came back different, stronger, more confident, more assertive. It shows in absolutely everything you do now. I smiled, thinking about that chaotic trip to Phoenix that had changed everything. Sometimes the worst situations teach us the most important lessons about ourselves. As for my family, well, that relationship remained complicated, but slowly, gradually evolving. Mom called once a month now, usually on Sunday afternoons when she knew I'd be free. The conversations were still somewhat awkward and surface level, but at least they were actually happening. She asked about my work, about James, about my life. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for favors. She just talked to me like I was a person. Baby steps. Linda and I exchanged occasional text messages, mostly about neutral topics like recipe recommendations or funny memes we'd seen. We weren't close. Probably never would be. But at least the open hostility had faded into something more like distant, polite civility. Dad sent me a birthday card for the first time in 8 years, with a handwritten note inside that simply said, "Proud of you. Quito." Wish I'd said it more. Love. Dad. I cried when I read those words. Not sad tears, something far more complicated. Tears for the relationship we'd never had, mixed with fragile hope for what might still be possible, if we both tried. The kids, Emma, Tyler, and Chloe sent me drawings they'd made at school, delivered via photos from Linda. I sent them back funny postcards from my weekend trips with James to Portland, Vancouver, and the beautiful San Juan Islands. Aunt Martha remained my consistent lifeline to the family, calling every few weeks with updates and encouragement. She'd become something like the mother figure I'd always wished I'd had, supportive, honest, genuinely interested in my happiness rather than what I could do for her. One particularly meaningful Sunday in September, Mom called and actually apologized. Really, truly apologized. Not a perfect apology, not everything I might have wanted, but real and genuine nonetheless. Caroline, I've been thinking a lot about what happened, she said carefully. About how I treated you over the years. I've been talking to a therapist about it. Did I mention I've been seeing someone? Anyway, she's helped me see some things more clearly. I sat down slowly on my couch, hardly daring to breathe or move. What things? Mom, that I wasn't fair to you growing up. That I put too much responsibility on you far too young and expected you to just handle everything without complaining. That I took advantage of how reliable and capable you were. Her voice cracked slightly with real emotion. And that lying to you about being deathly sick so you'd come babysit was manipulative and wrong. I'm truly sorry. Caroline, you deserve so much better from me as your mother. Tears streamed down my face. Thank you for saying that. Mom, you have no idea how much I needed to hear those words. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, she continued. Honestly, I know I have a lot to make up for, but I want to try. I want to do better. If you'll give me the chance, I'd like that. I whispered. I'd really like that. It wasn't a magical instant fix that solved everything. Years of accumulated pain and resentment don't disappear with one conversation. But it was a genuine beginning, a real foundation we could actually build on together. A year to the day after my Turkey escape, James surprised me with tickets. Where are we going? I asked excitedly, examining the boarding passes he'd printed out. Antalya. Turkey. He grinned widely. I figured we should go back to where you had your big liberation moment. Plus, I never got to see those Duden waterfalls or that historic old town you mentioned. And I hear the grilled eggplant is absolutely mind-blowing. I laughed and threw my arms around him tightly. Have I told you lately that you're the absolute best? You might have mentioned it once or twice. He teased. But I never get tired of hearing it. We spent a glorious week in Antalya, staying at the same Fantasia resort where I'd stayed before. This time, though, everything felt completely different. Better. I wasn't running away from anything anymore. I was running towards something. Toward a future I was actively choosing and building with intention. On our last evening, we sat on the beach watching the sunset paint the Mediterranean in brilliant colors. James took my hand gently. You know what I love most about you? He asked quietly. What's that? That you refuse to stay small just to make other people comfortable? That you stood up for yourself even when it was terrifying? That you chose yourself when no one else would? He squeezed my hand. You're the strongest person I know. Caroline. I leaned my head against his shoulder, feeling completely at peace for the first time in my life. The Caroline from a year ago, the one who dropped everything when her family called, who accepted being last priority, who never pushed back or set boundaries. She wouldn't have believed this moment was possible. But she'd been brave enough to take that first terrifying step toward real change, and everything else had followed naturally. Thank you, I whispered to James, for seeing me, for following me, for being my genuine partner, not my user. Always, he promised. Always. As the sun sank below the horizon and the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky, I thought about the long, complicated journey that had brought me here to this exact moment. The pain, the anger, the fear, the liberation, the growth, all of it necessary, all of it valuable. I wouldn't change a single thing, not even the hardest, most painful parts, because they'd led me here, to this beach, to this moment, to this life. A life I'd chosen for myself. A life I was finally, genuinely proud of. A life where I was enough, exactly as I was. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you most will take you for granted. Sometimes family means setting boundaries instead of accepting abuse. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. This is my story of finding my voice, my strength, and my peace. And I hope it inspires you to stand up for yourself too. Story 2. At a club, a stranger grabbed me and I placed my hands on him. When I contacted my fiancé to come get me, he accused me of cheating by accusing me of wearing a skimpy outfit, then insisted that I apologize. My fiancé, who is 27M, and I, who are 24 farads, have been engaged for almost a year. And both of us have been quite busy with wedding preparations. He is aware that I began to lose a lot of hair as a result of the stress. He said that I could unwind, and he would take care of everything. When my pals found out I was free for once, they asked me to the club, and I accepted. I didn't originally tell my fiancé where I was going, but I figured he would figure it out since, after all, where else could you be going at night in skimpy attire? I'm aware that this may be seen as disrespectful, but he's always been okay with my dressing modestly Regardless, he inquired where I was heading. My buddies picked me up after I informed him I was going to the club with them. And he just answered, "Okay." We went to the club, and while I attempted to control myself since I am engaged, I did have a few drinks during that time. However, my companions encouraged me to consume more alcohol than I had planned. I was alone at a booth when a guy came up to me and tried to follow me. I asked him to leave me alone since I was engaged, before forcing my hands on him. He reached up my dress and grabbed my hand to check my ring. Since my pals were nowhere to be found, I pushed the madman right away and contacted my husband to come get me. When he arrived to pick me up, I was hurriedly telling him what had occurred when he pulled over and yelled at me in an accusatory manner. It goes without saying that I didn't believe he was upset with me, since I would have expected my fiancé to be the last to be upset with me over something that wasn't my fault. I stated it again, and he resumed driving. He continued answering my questions with, "But why did you let him touch you?" I was shocked and informed him that I had forbidden him from touching me. I also urged him to stop bothering me. According to him, I shouldn't have worn what I did to the club. Began talking, embarrassing every friend I went with, and asking why I hadn't taken more precautions. I yelled at him because, wow. He then claims that I have no right to be upset with him, since he was just worried about my lack of self-awareness and that he was the one who was cheated on. Then began to make his last argument, which was that I should have spoken with him first, since coming to the club was already somewhat cheating. We have been dating for 4 years, and he has never done anything to offend me. But I am really thinking about breaking off the engagement. He is nearly usually quite nice with me, and we don't quarrel very often. He has never responded to me in this manner before. On a few occasions, I did see him acting aggressively against others who weren't me. Giving him the benefit of the doubt makes me unsure whether I should wait and speak with him in the morning. Perhaps he isn't thinking clearly because he is as exhausted as I was from organizing the wedding. One update. Early this morning, my fiancé departed from the house. He still reacted the same way to my sexual assault the night it occurred. So I inquired where he went. I'm unsure of what to do, and if canceling the engagement is the appropriate course of action. Some individuals claim that I'm overreacting, while others disagree, since some have asked what I was wearing, which I don't get how it's at anyway relevant to comprehending that I was sexually attacked. The last picture is really the dress I wore to the club. I maintain that I didn't be unfaithful to him, and that I wasn't hiding my destination. I should have said it sooner. But I informed him when he inquired. It's as easy as that. You cannot simply let me go to the club, then come get me. Discover that a guy touched me without my permission, and claim that going to the club constitutes cheating. We are also quite honest. There was nothing to imply that he didn't want me to attend. Therefore, if he had a problem with it when I informed him I was going to the club, he would have said it. Text message transcripts between Oop and her fiancé. Talk to your fiancé about moving to Garden Roses. I'm in need of assistance. Your fiancé is taking a break. Just like you. Oh no. Well, that's all right. But it seems like you're acting pettily. Fiancé, can you blame me whether I am or not? Fiancé, my future wife, became irritated at the club and consented to being touched by another guy. It hurts to have been cheated on before my wedding. Oh, I didn't be unfaithful to you. You've always been okay with my dressing as I want. Therefore, I should be allowed to do so. I told you before I went, but I didn't tell you where I was going at first. I would have remained if you had told me repeatedly that you didn't want me to go. Oh no, you are aware of it. I didn't imagine you would go and essentially F another guy. So I let you go. Fiancé, you were touched by another guy, which is cheating. Fiancé, oh no. All right. So, is it because I allowed another guy to touch me, or that I went to the club? Oh no. This goes against everything you told me the previous night. So tell me now. Oh no. It's unbelievable that you're still haunted by the thought that I cheated on you. Why does it matter more that I cheated on you than that I'm okay? Instead of accepting the truth that I was raped, how can you, the guy I love and confide in my most vulnerable moments, focus on your wounded pride? Wake up. Please. The fact that you don't care about what happened to me makes me angry. But I'm also very saddened. The entire reason you went to the club, fiancé, was to unwind. I'm concerned about your health. So, he let you unwind. Now that you took my feelings into mind and cheated on me, there is no need to be concerned. Fiancé, I'm sorry that happened to you that way. But you don't expect a guy to attempt to F you when you go to the club wearing suggestive clothing. If you really cared about me, you would say you're sorry. And we could continue. No, I didn't dress in a manner that would have led to sexual assault. Dude, I dressed the way I did because neither you nor I have ever had a problem with it. And I did it for myself, not for anyone else. Sounds ridiculous and is quite repulsive of you. Yes, I did go to the club dressed like most girls would because it made me feel pretty. I'm sorry. But I've been feeling really ugly these past few months because I'm watching my figure for our wedding and losing a lot of hair on top of that. I'm sorry. Fiancé. But I'm sorry. Update 2. Hello everyone. I appreciate your advice, and I believe I will be following through on canceling the engagement. But before I do, I need guidance on where to start. I apologized, fiancé, and I'm sorry a man like that approached you. But it's not right to blame everyone but yourself. The breakdown of what we have paid so far is as follows. Venue, $4. 500 deposit, 30% of $15. Nil total. Non-refundable after 6 months. Wedding dress custom alterations already completed. Armayen, 800 total, with $1. 200 paid up front. We have already spent about $12. 000 on planning out of an initial $35. Nude budget, with a rough 60% from us and 40% from our family's mostly non-refundable deposits that are killing me right now. The wedding was for 120 guests. So, we have non-refundable travel booked for 20 out-of-town family members, with flights and hotels totaling $13. Ling ling ling. But that is on hold. The photographer, 50% of the $4. 000 package. Has a $2. 000 retainer. And the florist and invitations have a $1. 200 total cost. Most of which has been sunk since the invites were sent out 3 months ago. We have $800 in custom signage. Which platform is best? FB Marketplace, Still White, or eBay? How do I price it without undervaluing it? Do I need a lawyer to review contracts for shared expenses with my ex? We're not married. But some of the expenses were joint. Should I contact each vendor right away to negotiate partial refunds or offer to transfer deposits to another couple for resellable items like the dress or decor? Update 3. I want to start by saying that I am so incredibly grateful for the overwhelming support and advice, or is small claims court worth it for anything under $5? 000. Also, any advice on how to break this to our families without a blow-up? My parents are already out $2. 000 and very emotionally invested. So any stories or advice from anyone who has been through this would be extremely helpful. This is my final update because I don't want to prolong this discussion on Reddit. I told my ex-fiancé that I was ending our engagement, and while he was upset, he didn't try to hurt me. So I'm safe for those who are worried. Reading through almost 4,000 comments was difficult, but I did my best, especially with the lengthy ones. I told him I was doubting our engagement around 3 or 4 days ago, and his first reaction was, "Are you kidding? He brought up the money spent on the wedding and asked how we were going to handle individuals who donated and what we were going to tell them. He made fun of me until I verified yesterday that I was canceling. He raged about throwing away 4 years after I told him I would take care of it, saying he didn't care who the victim was anymore and that he'd never make such a decision because he loved me. It's crazy to end on this note. I'll answer some questions I was getting. Yes, even those that were asked with less than kind intentions, and give more background. My mom called to talk about it and was supportive. But I feel like there's still some disappointment from her and others. The actual assault happened on a Saturday 2 weeks ago, and the day after. I told my sister first because I couldn't face my fiancé or handle it alone. I didn't tell the rest of my family directly, but my sister told them on my behalf. No, I didn't report the assault. I was frantic and just wanted to get home. I told the man to leave me alone before he touched me several times. But it happened very quickly. People were also accusing me of infidelity and asking whether I was telling the whole story because I didn't detail the assault and questioning whether I reported it or not. I didn't think to report it at the time because I couldn't stand to be in there any longer. But I'll try to go back to the club and ask for footage when I'm in a better headspace, because I don't want this to happen to other women, and I'm confused that people think that's what I want. I froze, then pushed him off after I processed what was happening and left right away. My friends, who are single women, I suggested that I go to the club after my ex-fiancé told me that I could go out and unwind and that he would take care of all the wedding planning for the day. I was alone at the booth because they wanted to dance while I didn't. Definitely not. This is the missing context I was harassed for. Finally, this decision wasn't based only on Reddit. I was considering it before I came and told my story here. And Reddit only confirmed that I wasn't overreacting and encouraged me. I haven't contacted vendors yet, but I'm surprised and grateful for the logistical advice and support offered. If you replied under that comment, I probably saw it and you weren't overlooked. This is my decision. Thank you. Next story. My roommate insisted that my boyfriend was cheating with false evidence. But I know that strangers don't fully understand my situation to make such a big decision for me. I know that to those in my direct messages who called me stupid or worse, and who also appeared to be mostly men, your repulsive misogynistic words won't change my mind. After her boyfriend called me a home wrecker and accused me of cheating on Tinder, she admitted that she wanted me to be single as well. As a result, I, 20 farads, live with Emily, 21 farads, whom I met a few years ago, and we quickly became friends. I admit that we moved in together last year for convenience, but we have remained loyal to one another, which has undoubtedly strengthened our bond. I never imagined that there would be any problems between Emily and Sam. In our early days, she was very polite and seemed to know the ideal balance between socializing with Sam and giving us space. My boyfriend is Sam, 24 meters, whom I met about a year and a half ago. We have been dating for a little over a year, and our relationship changed into an LDR about 5 months ago because Sam had to move for work. Sam has always been open and honest, and he has always stated that he quickly shuts girls down if they try it on with him. She only began making small remarks about how funny it would be if Sam had a side chick in his new city, or that I was actually a side chick and he's gone home to his family after he moved away. Regarding the family issue, I assisted him in moving into his little 2-room apartment rather than a family house. Normally, I immediately stop this whenever Emily brings it up. But lately, she has been going above and above to attempt to convince me that my boyfriend is unfaithful. During dinner the other day, she informed me that she had evidence that Sam had sneaked into one of her friend's direct messages. She also showed me a screenshot of Sam's secret Twitter account, which was not her username, and just in case it had been a secret account, I searched for the username and found a profile of a 5-year-old boy named Sam. Emily sent me an SOS message last night claiming that there was an emergency, but after I hurried home to check what was going on, She claimed that the emergency was that Sam didn't have his Facebook relationship on his profile and that it was obvious he was trying to appear single. Despite my telling her this, Emily insisted that this profile was my Sam and that he was either clearly catfishing using this kid or that he was Sam's younger brother. Even though Sam doesn't have any younger siblings, his relationship isn't public because I asked for it to be that way, because I don't think that my relationship status should be public knowledge. We are in a private relationship on Facebook. But I told Emily this, and she continued to try to convince me that he might still be cheating and that he had subtly pressured me to keep the status private. I really wasn't. To be clear, I've never told Emily that I think Sam will cheat on me in his new city because I don't. It's that simple. She may have been jealous or wanted him for herself. But she's in a relationship of her own, often spending 2 or 3 nights a week with her boyfriend of 2 years. When my boyfriend proposed last year, I had a situation almost exactly like this, with my roommate divided by close friend. I'm going to put her on an information diet about my relationship. But should I think about going further? Comments where OP has replied. Comment 1. Is there a possibility that your friend is jealous of your relationship with Sam, my fiancé, who was working on sobriety, relapsed, and got wasted one night around this time? And my friend used that as an excuse to try to get me to end our relationship. He was in the Navy at the time, and while on Christmas leave, he stayed at our apartment and proposed to me. At first, my friend was very happy for me, but a few weeks later, her own boyfriend abruptly ended their relationship. I called her out on it, and she backed off, which was good because, quite honestly, she was acting ridiculous and obsessed over my relationship. She was determined to prove to me that because my fiancé relapsed, he was an untrustworthy man who didn't deserve me. In reality, my friend was just upset that her own relationship had just ended and she wanted someone to share her misery with. Maybe she just wanted me to be her single friend. Comment 2. Is there a benefit for her if you're single? For example, do you frequently invite Sam over to your place, or are you planning to move in with him soon away from her? Has she ever been cheated on in a similar situation? Lock your room and keep an eye on your phone. Oop. She might be jealous. But she is really happy with her boyfriend. Unless she isn't. And she's been very good at hiding it from everyone, including her boyfriend. The third comment reads, do you bring Sam over to your place a lot? Put her on mute when possible and tell her that you're not going to respond to her emergencies anymore. Then you only get upset when you're not busy. It shouldn't be. But that's how she'll learn, if you stop telling her about you and Sam. Given that this behavior only began after Sam relocated and stopped visiting often, it seems improbable. Sam and I have been in an LDR since their LDR oop, and he has only visited us twice in the last 5 months. So she couldn't say she's annoyed by his presence, especially since her boyfriend is able to stay at our house for half a week. We also don't have any plans to move in together anytime soon because I have a stable life here. She has never cheated on me, as far as I know, and she has never been in an LDR. So all of her theories about Sam cheating on me because we are in one are based on stories from other people. In the fourth comment, she comes across as somewhat unstable and drama, queenie, which is an example of his crazy theory. He tries to make the facts fit. Update a few days ago. I posted about my housemate Emily, who had made it her life's work to try and convince me that my long-distance boyfriend Sam was cheating on me. Tell her straight out that you feel she's trying to destroy your relationship, and that if she doesn't stop, the friendship will end. It doesn't really matter what her motivation is. The drama continued until it blew up. And yesterday, I received a very angry message from Emily's boyfriend, calling me every possible name, including a home wrecker. I sat Emily down after posting my original post and told her that I would not be talking to her about Sam at all. She tried to argue that it was in my best interest to listen to her, but she did rein it in. When I asked him what the devil was going on, he told me that he was aware of my infidelity with Sam and how I had persuaded Emily to cheat on him as well. It turned out that he had discovered Emily's Tinder activity, which included her meeting up with a couple and engaging in other activities. While I was unaware of her involvement, whenever she left the house for the night, she always claimed to be staying at her boyfriend's. I made it clear to him that I wasn't encouraging Emily to cheat on him, and I wasn't cheating on Sam. He then attempted to say that Emily had told him that on a particular evening when I wasn't in the flat, I was out having sex with a Tinder guy. About 10 minutes later, Emily was crying at my door, claiming that her ex-boyfriend had gone crazy and that she only cheated because he was abusive. I don't know if her boyfriend believes me, but I haven't received any more messages from him since we celebrated Sam's birthday together in his city. And I had the timed and dated pictures to prove it. Of course, Emily knew where I was. When she said that I was involved, she said that I would understand her position if I had broken up with Sam as she wanted me to. I'll admit that caught my attention. I asked her what she meant, and she explained that she had wanted us both to be free from our partners, but she knew I wouldn't cheat on Sam. So, she had done her best to convince me that he was cheating, so I would leave him. I can't say that I saw anything, but I also can't say that this was a definite lie, and she was afraid of his reaction. I didn't even wait until Emily woke up this morning to put my plan to move out into action. The landlord has been contacted and is very understanding. Even if she did want to leave her own abusive relationship, her constant attempts to convince me to leave my boyfriend for her own gain are enough for me to just cut her off. I've been debating whether or not to move to be with Sam for a while, and I think this will now play a significant role in my decision. We're very close to the end of our tenancy anyhow, so I'm breaking my lease and spending the night in a friend's spare room before moving on. I might write her a farewell note, but she hardly deserves it. I didn't respond to any comments because I know the kinds of responses I would have received. I know he hasn't cheated on me with Emily, but I do know he didn't. Additionally, many comments in the original post implied that something had happened between Sam and Emily while he was still living in this area, and she was attempting to show me that, without coming clean, I know some of you may still believe that he could have cheated, or cheated in the future. And I can't say with certainty that he didn't/won't. But Sam was just as unlikely to cheat with Emily as I was with any of his friends, family, or housemates. He never spoke to Emily privately, and was really only friendly with her because she was my housemate. But I won't let what-if style thinking destroy our relationship.